All righty then. Okay. Everybody's mic's all good and everything? Okay. Then we stand by. Aloha, everyone, and thank you for the gift of your time in joining us today. Today, we will witness an important step forward in history. Governor Josh Green will sign several bills that will benefit condominium owners, associations, and residents, thereby further addressing Hawaii's housing shortages, as he did on Tuesday. Facilitated questions and answers will follow promptly after remarks conclude, and the formal bill signing will commence shortly thereafter. Without further ado, it is my privilege to introduce to you Governor Josh Green.
Aloha. I've got people who are terrific at explaining what the legislature has done in the last few months. Much credit has to go to them. So we're going to talk about condominium reform in a moment, and there are some seriously urgent circumstances in front of us. Before I get too deep, I want to definitely thank Senator Kehokalole, who was the lead in the Senate to pass these bills, and Speaker of the House. Speaker has a district which has a heck of a lot of condos and is extremely familiar with this challenge. And frankly, if we don't take action like we're doing today, a lot of the housing that we have could be jeopardized. So super important bills, and amazing credit to all of the leadership over in the House and Senate. So thank you guys, it's great. Okay, let's go to a couple of our slides here if you don't mind. So why are we doing this? So the cost of living is affecting all of our residents in Hawaii, and that affects a lot of condo owners. Jamie and I are condo owners right here in Speaker's District, and the challenge that we're facing right now is multifactorial. We've got insurance costs that are rising as climate risks increase. The HOA associations are seeing rising costs and struggling to deal with resident needs. You can see also that condo issues are a reflection of our broader affordable housing problems, and it's becoming a crisis. So, we've been really intent on making some solutions, and fortunately the legislature stepped up for this. So this legislation that you're going to hear about in a moment, and the details will come from the leadership, is really very sometimes technical, but it ultimately is pragmatic so that we can make sure condos continue to be affordable and available to people. For example, cost of living issues for residents. We're going to allow the use of emails for certain documents to help alleviate the burdensome processes that people who are buying a condo face. It can be thousands of dollars, and it can be faster, and time in this case is very valuable. We also are going to have legislation which studies some of what the other states are doing relating to things like an ombudsman, licenses for management, alternate dispute resolution, which I'm very high on, because I think a lot of times we try to avoid legal costs. Helps people a lot, because the condominium associations, if they have to pay large legal costs, they pass that on to residents. We're also highlighting a couple of bills that are increased opportunities for condos. And let's go to the next slide. This is about clean energy. This is something that Scott Psyche, speaker, has been fighting on for a long time. So I'm really grateful that he stuck with this. You can see in this slide, there's two bills noted. House Bill 2685 establishes a solar HUI program so that people who are in multifamily residences, they can invest in funds, basically to provide loans for installing solar energy. We are very intent on increasing solar energy in this space. That's important. So it's expanding this program so that we can help the condominium owners. This is a fund that's created to directly deal with this financial barrier that's prevented struggling households from reducing their energy costs, and they can be very high. I really like seeing this. And then there's another bill, House Bill 2801. It transitions the C-Spacer program from counties to the Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority, HGIA. And this helps condo associations be eligible for commercial property assessed financing. Again, a lot of this stuff is very technical, but it's helping us with our renewable energy problems. It's helping us to decrease energy costs in condos, and that's affordability for our people. So really excellent work. Next slide. So look, again, these bills, though very, very wonkish, make a difference in people's lives, and they will happen quite quickly. A lot of this work is going to start soon. I think that some of the team will explain as soon as July 1st. So we're working on this because, as we've said before, we have to build thousands of units. As many as 13,000 units have already been kind of teed up for 2026. The housing bills that you heard 2 days ago are empowering HHFDC. You had us work on the short-term rental bills, which Senator Kay Hokulole really was a superstar and champion, of course, on that bill. And that's helping. It's going to help the whole state on short-term rentals. And then we are also incented to put together this climate action team. And we have Chris Benjamin today, who is spearheading that policy work to also help us deal with all of these challenges. So just wanted to show you the spectrum of the work on housing, which started earlier in the week with kind of building housing, and now it's supporting our condo industry. So next slide. Okay, just happiness there. But again, this is the reason we're doing these signings now, and we have another couple big ones next week, is because we just can't wait. The world is changing quite quickly. We're working in the moment to make sure that we control housing costs and ultimately build a lot more housing. And this whole raft of bills that happened earlier in the week, and then these should really make a big difference. So mahalo, guys. Aloha.
Mahalo, Governor. At this time, I would like to introduce House Speaker Scott Psyche.
Thank you. So before I start, as a reminder, both of the bills that the governor just mentioned, the CPACE bill and the Solar HUI bill, do not require state funds. They do not require county funds. They're privately financed. And I'll discuss that a little bit later. I just wanted to mention it now before, so I don't forget later on, because that's really an important part of this program. But thank you very much for being here today. This is a privilege. Thank you, Governor, for signing the condo package today. The legislature did make condo legislation a priority this year, and I want to thank Senator Keokalole, who was the lead in the Senate. He actually worked harder on these bills than I did, and it's not easy to work on condo bills. They are actually very complicated, and they really evoke a lot of emotion from condo residents and condo board members, as the senator learned the last couple of years. So, as the state of Hawaii develops housing programs throughout the state, more and more we're relying on the development of high rises to house people. So it's really important for us as a state to have a really good grasp of what is happening with condos and the issues before them, in order for us to continue to build high-rise buildings in our state. So the package today, the 5 bills that are being signed, are really important because they cover kind of like the gamut, the spectrum of issues that affect condo residents, condo associations, and the management companies that manage condo buildings. So the bills basically cover, start with the documentation that is required when you purchase a condo unit, voting for your association board members, evaluating how we improve governance within condos, and then the two bills that the governor specifically mentioned, the CPACE bill and the Solar Hui bill, and those bills are designed to help relieve some of the financial pressures that condo owners are beginning to experience now. Because as you know, for whether you are a condo owner or a renter in a condo, there are so many circumstances going on in these buildings that are kind of beyond your control. They're really within the control of the association, the building management, your next door neighbor or the neighbor above you. I mean, there's factors that could impact your life and your finances. So I wanted to just speak a little bit about the CPACE bill and the Solar Hui bill. These will actually help to mitigate the impact of what we are seeing with the property insurance crisis in our state, especially with respect to the impact on condos, the property insurance impact on condos. The CPACE bill is really, really important because it's going to enable condo buildings to become insurable. And that's because this bill will allow condo associations to finance improvements to their buildings through a private lender. The loan will be repaid by unit owners in that building. And the loan will be repaid over time. It will be amortized over the life of the improvement. The kinds of improvements that are going to qualify under this program will include fire sprinklers, water pipes, and water pipes are leaks are a big issue in condos, especially older condos, and also environmental remediation. So things like air conditioning, lighting, even plumbing issues. So all of these issues that I just mentioned impact not just unit owners, but condo buildings as a whole and the cost of operating and maintaining a condo building. There are two immediate benefits to the CPACE program. One is because the loan is amortized, you avoid a large front-end assessment on unit owners. The second benefit is that the loan is repaid by individual unit owners in the building. So if a unit owner sells the unit and moves, the new owner will assume that obligation. So it goes from owner to owner over a period of time. The second bill is the Solar Hui bill, and this is another important bill that will help condo residents. The concept is that people who live in condos who don't have rooftops will be able to invest in a fund. This fund will finance solar rooftop panels and batteries for people who live in homes that can't afford to pay for those systems or who can't even get conventional financing for those systems. The people who receive these rooftop improvements will repay that loan over time through their electric utility bill. The investor will receive some kind of a financial benefit for making that investment. So maybe in the form of a federal or state tax credit, and maybe even a dividend that's calculated based on the savings generated from all of the rooftop installations. So with the Solar Hui program, there's a benefit at all levels. You have the investor who receives a financial benefit, individual homeowners who receive rooftop solar panels or batteries, and they wouldn't have been able to do that but for this program. And then third, the environment, because we'll have more green energy generated in our state. So it's a really important program that benefits the entire state at different levels. Again, both of these programs, I didn't forget, both of these programs do not require state funding. They are privately financed and are basically loans that are going to be repaid over time. So, again, thank you governor and senator for working on these bills, as well as all the other advocates who are here today. I think Gwen's going to speak on these programs because her office is responsible for administering them. And also Chris Benjamin, who represented a hui of advocates that really pushed and worked throughout the session to advance these measures. So, thank you very much for being here today.
Mahalo, Speaker Saiki. Now please welcome Senator Jarrett Ke'oho Kalole, Chair of the Senate Commerce and Consumer Protection Committee.
Thank you. That was hard work explaining the bills, so I'm glad that you talked first, and then now I just get to say any kind. I'm happy that I'm here. Thank you for the invitation, Governor. Thank you for your work on this, and to all the advocates who were involved throughout the process. Not everyone can or even wants to live in a two-story home with a yard and a white picket fence and 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 cars in their driveway. People that live in condominiums do need to be accounted for when we talk about affordable housing and when we talk about the cost of living. And they're under a lot of strain and I think uncertainty and distress right now because of the rising cost of assessments, of fees, of insurance premiums. And so, as the governor and the speaker pointed out, these measures are intended to help ease the costs associated with a lot of those issues. The two that the speaker spent so much time diligently explaining, I think, are the real big ones as well. The solar hui bill has been one that's been advocated for by the solar and renewable energy industry for a long time. So congratulations to them on repeatedly coming back and trying to get that done. For people that live in buildings, they want solar panels and discounted electricity just like everybody else. It's just a more cumbersome process to get there on that. So this makes this a little bit easier. And when you talk about addressing the cost of living, right after your rent or mortgage payment, people look at their electric bill. And so the more panels we can get up and the more equitable distribution of those panels, especially for people that live in buildings who don't normally have access to them, I think is a great thing. And so we look forward to the swift implementation of that, and for people that live in condominiums all over the place to be able to see more of them on their roofs, especially with the batteries too. And then the last one is the CPACER bill. I am really proud of that one. We're facing so much uncertainty in the condominium market on when it comes to insurance. It's a complicated issue that's got a lot of people, I think, distressed about what's going on and what the way forward is. But we know that there are several hundred buildings in the state of Hawaii that are condominiums that were built a long time ago that need to do improvements. Perhaps regular maintenance, but things like fire sprinklers, like water pipe replacements, normal things that are going to take a lot of money in order to facilitate. And it's going to be difficult going forward for many of those homeowners associations, condo associations, and unit owners to be able to finance that. So the CPACER bill is just an easier way for these condominiums to go in and get the work done that needs to be done in order for them to stabilize costs for themselves. We know that many of the owners and residents of condominiums are kupuna retired people that are on fixed incomes. And so there's just a lot of distress about the rising cost of assessments and association fees and all of that. So this is a complicated sort of technical measure that ultimately just means the financing to get this work that has to be done in the cheapest way possible. So I'm really happy that we were able to get across the finish line on that one, and proud of the work that we've done, that we were able to do on that. So that's all. If I knew all I had to say was, Speaker, this bill is so hard to work on, and then you pass it, I'm going to have a lot of hard Senate bills to send over next year, and then we can be here again. So thank you very much.
Mahalo, Senator. Next, please welcome Gwen Yamamoto Lau, Executive Director of the Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Mahalo to the governor, speaker, policymakers, and a very diverse group of advocates representing condominium associations, the CPACE industry, solar industry, labor, insurance, affordable housing, businesses, impact investors, affordability and energy equity advocates, climate, and the city and county of Honolulu, who leaned into CPACE and helped us recognize that we needed to be condo inclusive with this financing program. I'm not going to go into the details. The speaker did a really great job explaining the two bills, but I did want to say, third time's the charm. So for the third time, both of these bills will leverage private capital, will not take any public funding, and it will also increase state tax revenues. It's going to create jobs, and the economic multiplier impact is going to be felt statewide. So thank you very much.
And mahalo, Gwen. Now it is time for facilitated questions from the media.
Mahalo, Erica. Our first question comes from Ashley with HPR.
This is probably for Governor, Speaker, and probably a Senator. There was a measure this session that didn't pass, which would have used the Hurricane Relief Fund to do property insurance for condos. Are there plans to bring it back next session? And then, Governor, has your climate task force offered any insight about that measure?
Thank you. I can handle this one, I think. I mean, if you guys need to fill in, please do. So, as was stated very eloquently, we do have this challenge. We have challenges as costs go up, and some people are worried. I had a call from an elderly individual saying that they're very worried about the increased costs because it's hard to get insurance. So, what we've actually done is, at the request of the leadership, both the House and Senate, we are creating a property insurance task force right now. It's going to include these two excellent legislators and also our insurance commissioner, and then a large number of additional experts. We want the insurance marketplace thoroughly evaluated so that we can come back and make sure that we don't see going forward increases. And I think that it's going to be very helpful. I need to make a clarifying statement. Okay, we've got two significant work groups going right now. One is the climate action team, okay, which I mentioned earlier with Chris Benjamin and a lot of legal leaders. That's meant to look at the questions of what do we do with the impacts of climate, whether it's fires or sea level rise or superstorms, and how do we make sure that we don't suffer the same fate that some other states are suffering, like in California, where it's getting harder and harder to insure our whole state against disasters going forward. Okay, so that's what Chris and team are working on. But in addition to that, we have this immediate question of what's going to happen with insurance rates at buildings and what happens just year over year. So yes, they were very thoughtful and asked us to put this together. So they'll tell us whether we need statutory changes, whether or not perhaps we need to use emergency rules in the interval. We do, of course, always have the ability to work even after the May sine die of the legislature if it becomes critical, and we're aware of that. The Senate will be back to consider 4 judges that we are nominating. I think I'm going to make that announcement tomorrow about those judges. And when they are back, I believe at the end of June or early July, if this group feels that they want to make a quick fix, I would heed that request and we would do it. But it's a little bit of dense work, and we're only talking about 4 weeks. We want to get that right. As you can see, it was 3 years to do something as complicated as these bills. But we are going to stabilize the insurance market. I can't guarantee or promise lower premiums right now because insurance has tended to go up. But what I can do is I can get us more certainty, and I think we can stabilize any changes that have occurred. And that may very well require some investment, as has been discussed and debated, from the Hurricane Relief Fund and other funds. Anything else on that, gentlemen? No? Okay, good. So, yeah, that scope of work is important, and we do have resources, but we're being thoughtful about our resources as we, recover from Maui, and we make sure that going forward, disasters don't affect us quite as profoundly.
Mahalo, Governor. Our next question comes from a reporter covering this event remotely. This session, there was a bill to address the skyrocketing premium prices on condo insurance, but it didn't pass. Is this still a problem, and what can the state do about this?
Oh, okay, good, perfect.
I'll try. It's essentially the same question, and so the governor's answer stands. I think what was sort of lost along the way, because it's a complicated issue, is that what's happening is the price for climate change is coming due, and it's starting in the insurance market. The reason we're having instability is because the global insurers have taken significant losses over the last several years, $100 billion a year, 4 out of the last 5 years in losses because of catastrophic weather events all around the world. And so globally, insurance companies are repricing, and that's causing prices to go up in our state. What we tried to work on and what the governor is reconvening us on is how to follow the model that was put together after Hurricane Iniki to make sure that in the event that insurers decide Hawaii is so risky we will no longer even provide service here, that we're ready to deal with that. Because that's what happened after Iniki. Essentially, property owners and people who own homes and are still here, remember that, could not get insurance at all after the hurricane. That's an enormous and complicated task to make sure that we have ready in the event that there's, another disaster. That was the intention of the measure. We need to keep working on it, and we need to get it right. And so that's why the governor is proposing to, reconvene a task force, and I'm grateful that we're doing that.
Can I just say make a couple of points? One is just to emphasize that what is happening in Hawaii with respect to property insurance is not unique to Hawaii. As you know, this is happening throughout the nation, and every day there's media articles, coverage of what is happening in other states and what they are experiencing with property insurance. And as the senator mentioned, this is the direct result of climate change and how climate change is driving natural disasters throughout the nation, and how especially the Lahaina wildfire pretty much put Hawaii on the map as a high risk state. I want to just acknowledge Senator, because he and I worked throughout the past session on the proposal that attempted to address the property insurance program issue by basically providing one small layer of insurance coverage for condo buildings that are underinsured. And what we learned through the session, which is now becoming more and more apparent, is that this issue is not just affecting condo buildings, it is now impacting townhomes, wooden townhomes that are not being insured because of the fire risk. So that was our fear, was that this was going to go beyond condo buildings to townhomes and possibly single-family homes as well. So I want to thank the governor and the senator for working on this task force over the summer. It's going to be really important for us to keep this on the radar screen and to try to develop some relief and solutions over the summer. Thank you.
And I'll just close the loop on that. So when people ask why is that so urgent, well, if you can't get insurance, you can't even propose to buy or sell condos. Very difficult, or townhomes and so on. And so we can't afford in an already tight housing market to have any kind of paralysis. So we're going to work around the year, around the clock, and we're monitoring this very closely day in and day out. So sometimes, and I've been saying this for some time, sometimes we do have to come together in the interval, and we'll do it if it makes sense. So if anyone out there is having this concern, please make sure you're bringing it to our attention. But we're also going to be surveying all of the insurers across the state to make sure that there's not a precipitous change that would hurt our people.
Mahalo, Governor. Final question. Zero Huff, Hawaii News Now.
I'm not sure who the right person is to answer this question, but can you give us a comparison through this program of loans through the Green Fund, whether, how much money will this save, or what new financing options will be available for a condo that says has to replace its sprinkler system, or install a sprinkler system? Can someone give me a sense of how much different it will be with this kind of a financing technique?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, so there are financing options out there already. This is just another option, another tool in the tool chest for the condominiums to have access to. The biggest difference between C-PACER financing and conventional financing is, as Speaker had alluded to, C-PACER financing amortizes the financing of the equipment, pipes, fire sprinklers, over the life of whatever's being installed. And so if it's a 30-year life, it's a 30-year loan. And typical conventional equipment financing doesn't go that long. So as an example, if you take, I talked to a condominium, I think they're looking at fire sprinklers, just fire sprinklers, it's $6 million. If you take $6 million and you amortize it over, 10, 15, maybe 20 years versus 30 or 40 years or whatever the lifetime is, you'll stretch out the payment, so it becomes way more affordable that way. How much money do we have? It's private capital, so it's funding coming from private lenders. What we're also doing, working with Ernie Lau and his group, with the city as well as Hawaii Energy, is we're looking at how might we bundle water conservation and energy efficiency retrofits with the installation of fire sprinklers or repiping, so that we can lower the electric and water utility bill to help offset some of the additional costs for other installations that need to happen. Thanks.
And I'll add a personal vignette. So an 82-year-old woman called me on my cell the other day and said that she was facing an assessment of $2,600 to do some work at her condo, and her total Social Security and other income is only $2,200. So, in the immediate month, she was very fearful that she wouldn't be able to, to handle this without getting a loan from her family, her children. So these are really smart policies that can help us. And we do have an aging society, and there is an older inventory that's out there. We'll catch up. We'll be building housing that'll be newer, and condos will be newer in the coming years, but we're still going to need that older housing too. So this is a smart program.
Thank you very much, Coach. Mahalo, Governor. At this time, I would like to invite Governor to stay and for our legislators and key stakeholders to come up to the podium for a formal bill signing and subsequent picture taking.
Derek, be aware of your height.
Okay, so what do you want me to do?
Neil?
Suck it in.
All right, so first, mahalo everybody for all your incredibly hard work. This is the House Bill 2685 related energy. And for those who are taking pictures, don't take a bald spot. We see it appear on the front page every other day. All right. Thank you.
We're getting a little angle.
All right, here we go. One more time. This is House Bill 2801, and it's related to commercial property assessment financing. And this will be for Josh Wish. Right over here. Josh.
Okay. Ready, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Okay, right here. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
1, 2, 3.
TV stations. Keep smiling. And we're done.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you guys for being here today.